Well, hello there, and welcome back to the VW channel. I hope that you are all safe and well, and today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. Yes, to thank you all for 5,000 subscribers, and I think we hit 5,000 subscribers last year. I think it was around the November time. So this video has been a long time coming. I thought I'd mark the occasion with a short video today, and I want to do a couple of things on this video. First of all, I want to give you all some channel updates in terms of where I'm going in 2023, what I think the plan is going to be, although it is fluid, and I want to share some of that with you. And I also want to do a quick Q&A with everyone. So I left a post a week or so ago now, just asking if anyone has any questions to do a Q&A for the 5k subscribers video, which we're having today. So I will get onto those as well during this video. But first of all, let me get on to some of the big news with the channel. So I guess the first bit of news that is integral really to the success of this channel is branding. So for a while now, this channel, well, since its inception, this channel has been called the Vintage Warlock channel. And that was really for one of two reasons. Well, two reasons really overall. First of all, I am terrible with names. I'm great at naming kids. I should be. I've got 3 of them. But I am not great when it comes to naming brands or businesses, blah, blah, blah. So my names tend to be quite generic. And with the YouTube channel, when I first started out, the most important thing for me was to start getting videos and content out there, not necessarily talking about sort of getting branding that was really in line with what I was talking about. So when I initially started the Vintage Warlock channel, it wasn't just going to be about watches. It was going to be about watches. It was going to be about men's style, clothing, accessories, all that kind of stuff that men sort of like and enjoy. But as I really delved into horology and became a little bit more obsessive with it, I really niched down quite some bit and really started looking at purely watches, and that's really what this channel has now become. It has become a watch channel as opposed to a men's style and men's accessories channel, which I think is a pretty good move. Secondly, and I did say there were 2 reasons, the other reason is I have a relatively small space, which is my office. So my office is separate from my house, but it's still in the same sort of land. I have to go across a little courtyard and I'm in my office. My office is actually an old 17th century wash house. Funnily enough, and it's a very small pokey space. I have an office set up for my day job, and then I also do filming for the YouTube channel and voiceovers, and as such the space that I use to film in doesn't really allow for me to come onto camera and to present sort of bits of menswear anyway. So things like, you know, suits, shoes, all that kind of stuff, men's clothing, even bags and satchels and stuff are still very difficult for me to film within this space. So that's really the second reason. And with the wealth of options and choices out there with watches, it really means that my choice in looking solely at horology isn't one that is scant on subject matter material. There's lots of different things to talk about. There's in-depth videos, there's roundup lists, there's individual reviews, there's even general talking about brands and having conversations as well. So there's a lot of things that I really want to be able to do with watches, and I feel that niching down officially now and diving into horology is probably the best way forward. So without further ado, I will tell you the new name of this channel, and I guess the new branding that I'm going to be going with as well. So I've created this myself. I've come up with the name myself. Don't ask me how long it took to come up with. It's relatively simple, the name, and it's embarrassingly long, the amount of time it took for me to actually come up with this as an idea. So from now on, this channel is going to be known as Awkward Horology, which I think is a pretty cool name. And I'm going to still be Chris, the presenter, and the awkward horologist. And that's because I used to find it so awkward to come on camera, and I love horology. I just thought those 2 names would go pretty well together. So, Awkward Horologist, new branding, new channel, details, I guess, in a way. All the other links are still going to be the same, and it's still going to be the same content as well. So that's still pretty cool. But now we are going to be known as the Awkward Horology channel. I say we, I'm using the royal we. I'm going to be known as the Awkward Horology channel, and I'm the Awkward Horologist, and I guess the community are Awkward Horologists as well. So I think that's a pretty cool name. What do you guys think? Leave it in the comments below if you agree, you think it's a better name than the one I had before. So anywho, awkwardness aside and all of that rebranding out of the way, let me tell you a bit more about what I want to do with this channel in 2023. So I want to try and ramp up the number of reviews I do. I'm going to be consistent this year. 2023 is going to be the year of consistency. So at the moment, I'm doing one video a week solidly. I'm going to try, if I can, to do 2 videos a week. However, I have a pretty pressing personal life at the moment. I have a lot of other things going on in the background, so I'm going to try and do at least 1 video a week. If I can get 2, then I will continue to do 2 videos a week for as long as I possibly can. I've settled on a time slot as well for at least my 1 video a week. I'm going to be posting these UK time Thursday mornings at 9 AM, and the reason why I do that is because I want to be able to view it going into the weekend. I've been playing around with a couple of different dates, including Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays with release dates, and even Mondays, and I tend to find that Thursdays work quite well anyway, generally, in terms of video releasing, so it feels like the optimum time really. And finally, I have a big, hairy, audacious goal for 2023, and it is to get 10,000 subscribers. I have 5,300 subscribers, I believe, at the time of recording this, so 4,700 to go for 2023. But my real goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers, and if I can get 10,000 subscribers, I will do a giveaway as well on this channel. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already, please like, share and subscribe to the Awkward Horology channel. And lastly, before we go into the Q&A questions, I did held 2 polls on my channel at the towards the end of 2022, at the beginning of 2023, just so I can get a bit of an idea of what you guys like of what I do and what you would prefer me to continue to do if possible. Yes, the number of people going on to this were relatively low. That's to be expected when you have a small number of subscribers, but I want to thank everyone who voted in that. It just shows that there is a small community building up, and I do really appreciate and enjoy that. So the first poll that I held was, what would you like to see more of in 2023? And the 3 options were AliExpress videos, Swiss and Japanese watch reviews, and watch roundup or top lists. And overwhelmingly, I say overwhelmingly, 43% of you, so the majority of the people voting in this poll, chose Swiss and Japanese watch reviews. So that is at the top of the list. So because of that, I think the focus does need to be more on these main brand models for 2023. Second to that was AliExpress videos at 36%. Sorry, not 33, 36%. Yeah, that's absolutely, that's great as well. It's a good cornerstone of the channel, and as many people know, it's what helps bringing more money as well, so that I can buy more watches and bring those things in for review too. And then finally on the list was watch roundup or top lists as well. So that is the top 5, the top 10 lists and all that kind of stuff. So obviously there are people who still like that. They just don't like it as much as the singular reviews, but I will try and include some roundup lists as well. But if you look at that in an order, of Swiss and Japanese watch reviews coming in first, then AliExpress reviews coming in second, and then roundup lists sort of rounding off the list, then I think you've got a good order for the regularity of different reviews that I'll try and post coming into this new year, into 2023. I am also going to be looking at Japanese watches for the next couple of months as well for reviews, and that was the second poll that I held, which I think a little more of you voted on as well, but I had a very good idea and spread, and the question on this one was, what is your favourite Japanese watch brand? And head and shoulders above the rest in terms of votes was Casio, and I was I think I was a little surprised because it was either going to be Casio or Seiko, and I was leaning more towards Seiko potentially being the favourite watch brand from Japan. But of course, Casio has so much to offer, and it's so value packed as well. So in a way, the awkward horologist bank balance is happy that it's Casio as opposed to Seiko, but I'm still going to try and get a good mixture of those. So number one was Casio at 45%, number two was Seiko at 27%, Orient at 18%, and then at the bottom of the list was Citizen at 9%. It doesn't mean that I won't be doing any reviews on Citizen or Orient. I was just really interested in knowing what your favourite Japanese watch brand was, and I do want to start focusing a little more on those this year. But now that's enough of me talking about myself and my channel. It's now time to hear me talk about myself and my channel, but the only difference is that you guys have asked the questions. Here it is. I've got the sheet of paper here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions from you guys. All of them pretty good, actually. And I feel that these ones are going to be worth answering in a little bit of detail. So, question number 1 is, which watch is your favourite? Question mark. Okay. That's a good question. I'm not sure if you are talking about watches in my collection or watches in general. What I will start off with is watches in my collection. So at the moment, my favourite watch in my collection, hands down, is my Tudor Black Bay. It was my favourite pickup of 2022, I believe I bought it then, or 2021. I can't remember now when I bought it. It was either at the end of 2021 or start of 2022. It is my favourite watch at the moment in my collection. It is probably the watch that I am going to be the most reluctant to sell if I had to sell all of my watches off, and it is the watch on my wrist at the minute. I tend to wear this one quite often. If we're talking about watches in the wild, what my favourite one is at the moment, that's a good question, and I don't really know. You see, I have quite a few different watches that I've lusted after and that I quite like the look of. I'd have to say, because I'm quite a tall watch sort of guy, I think that's my favourite style of watch, but I have been going quite left field recently too. So I think my favourite watch that I don't have in my collection, and that I probably won't be getting in my collection unless something big happens over the next 12 months or so, is probably the Rolex Explorer 2, probably the black dial version. I quite like that one. I quite like a GMT complication. No, it's not technically meant to be a GMT. I think it's more for cave diving. I'm not sure of the full history of it, but I really like the look of it. I love the complication, and for me it's a proper tool watch as well. I would have said the Rolex Explorer, the original style Rolex Explorer, the one that everyone sort of knows and loves, but I really like the Explorer 2, and there's something about the Explorer 2 that I really enjoy. Other than that, I do love other GMT watches, and there are other great watches out there that have taken my attention. I'm not a huge fan of Omega Seamasters, but I do like the GoldenEye version that was worn by Pierce Brosnan in GoldenEye, as they say, and I do like the Aquaterras as well, actually, from the Omega range. But I also like Oris as well. I love a lot of Oris watches. I like the Chronoris, and I like the Oris Diver 65. But I won't be getting the Oris Diver 65 purely because I have the Tudor Black Bay, and I feel as if they are very, very similar in terms of watches. So next question here is, how long have you been into watches? So I've been into watches and I've enjoyed watches since I was a child. I used to have a few Casios when I was younger. However, I really got into watches properly around the 2008, 2009. I started having a look around in different sort of shops and places at watches. Back then I didn't really know much about watches, so I was actually looking at things like TK Maxx, which is a fashion store in the UK, where some of the watches they had there, and then I also had a look at the Casios and the rest of those kinds of watches, but it was only when, for Christmas, and I think it was 2018 Christmas, Christmas. My mother-in-law, well, my mother and father-in-law bought me a Casio, which I have put into review in this channel. I'll link to it at the end of this video. It's the A158 series. It's the silver one with the sort of the cream dial type thing, and that really started to ignite my love and passion for watches. And then I bought the Orient Triton, which then became my favorite watch and probably my most worn watch for a couple of years, which I sold recently. And then by that time I was fully into watches, and that's when I started getting the YouTube channel started, where I started sharing my love of horology with you. So if you have to count when I really seriously started getting into watches as a collector, you're probably looking at around 2017, 2018. Next question here is, are you doing a giveaway to, what does that say? I can't read my handwriting. Are you doing a giveaway to mark 5k subscribers? Yeah. So no, unfortunately, no, I'm not doing a giveaway at the moment for 5k subscribers. There's a reason for that. I want to build my community up a little more before I can do a giveaway. And then quite simply, this is a hobby that I have at the moment. The channel's pretty low in terms of numbers and all of that kind of stuff. So as much as I love buying watches and putting them in, I do have to sell them in order to buy new watches. And at the moment, I'm not quite there in terms of giving watches away. But as I've mentioned before in this video, to hit 10k subscribers this year, I will do at least one giveaway this year, as we are now starting to get to, I say we again, royal we, but we are starting to get to that level where I can potentially start looking at doing giveaways. Next question. Who are your favorite YouTubers? Oh, that's a good question. Right, I'm going to split this one into two categories, I think. I'm going to have watch YouTubers first, and then I'm going to have non-watch YouTubers. In fact, I'm going to flip them over. I'm going to do non-watch YouTubers first, and then I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to do my favorite watch YouTubers, because that's almost how I do everything when it comes to looking at YouTube. I have my favorites on one side from one and the other. So my favorite non-watch YouTubers in no particular order. The Happy Hour podcast is a really interesting and very funny podcast. It's just a few lads talking with celebrities about different things, and I find that intensely interesting, especially when they have some interviews with different people from different backgrounds. I really enjoy that. The second one is the master of the strange, dark and mysterious, Mr. Borland. I love his stories. In fact, sometimes when I go on walks at lunchtime through the local woods and through sort of the local sort of countryside, just to sort of reset before the afternoon. I'll often stick on one of his podcasts, and I scare myself silly when I'm walking around. Coffeezilla is a fantastic YouTuber as well. He's done great work in terms of shining a light on scams and scammers. Anything by Simon Whistler, from Brain Blaze through to Top 10s and everything in between. He's a bit of a master when it comes to YouTube, and he's a bit of a genius at that stuff as well. And then finally, one of the other ones I'm listening to quite a lot at the moment is The Critical Drinker. He is a author and a movie film critic reviewer, but he has a lot of salty language, and he has a lot more in terms of balls than I do. So yeah, those are my top or my favorite non-watch reviewer YouTubers. But my favorite watch YouTubers is much the same too as everyone else's. So I'm going to go through the big ones, and then I'll go into some of the smaller ones that I've watched and I've enjoyed as well. So first of all, in terms of your big watch YouTubers, big fan of Watchfinder and Co, or Andrew Morgan, as well, as he has his own sort of site from there. Jodie at Just One More Watch is a big influence on me, as it is with a lot of people. Just the Watch as well is a fantastic channel. Teddy Boldessar, Nico Leonard, Britt Pierce, Ellie Jenny. Oh God, there are so many good ones out there that are massively large, and of course you've got TGV as well, the original. Round off that list as well, there are two other big ones that I forgot that I love listening to, and that is Ben's Watch Club and Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. Both of those, again, fantastic. And in terms of smaller YouTubers, so we're talking people with under 100,000 subs, in fact under 50,000 subs actually. You have the Mad Watch Collector. Russ at the Mad Watch Collector is absolutely fantastic. I love his videos, and my kids love his videos as well. There are times when he has his little cutaways and gags, and my kids, who are 2 and 5 years old, are roaring with laughter. I also like Gary at I Like Watches and I Like Watches too. He does a lot of interesting stuff as well. He tends to look at all things horology. He does a lot of focusing on AliExpress and a lot of Seiko stuff, and yeah, he's a really good smaller YouTuber as well. And then some of the really small ones who are sort of with me in terms of growing. One of them is Venga Todd's Workshop, who's always been a vocal supporter of my channel as well. So if you are listening to this, Todd, I want to say thank you very much for supporting me. I'll continue to watch your videos and support you as well. And then there are a couple of other ones like Escape Wheel Watches as well, that do some really interesting and different stuff when it comes to watches. And you've got Watch Seekers as well, which is an interesting little channel too. In fact, what I'll do with these watch channels is I will link to them below, especially the smaller ones. The big ones everyone knows and everyone has big exposure to them, so if they're not going to slap me on the wrist, I would rather just link to some of the smaller watch YouTubers that I listen to, just so that they've got a little bit of exposure as well. But yeah, everyone knows the big ones. The little ones, they come in, they have some really interesting stuff, and hopefully they will grow a little more as well, which will be really interesting to see in 2023. Next question: do you prefer micros or Ali watches? I'm guessing you mean AliExpress watches. That's a great question, actually. I think in terms of specifications and build qualities, I think naturally I would be more in preference to micros. However, I've just not really reviewed many on this channel, and it's because the channel isn't really that big yet. So a lot of micro brands won't send me a watch for free, but I will see other reviews of watches. In terms of micro brands on this channel, the only micro brand I've really owned and held on to was the Boulder Odyssey, which I then sold towards the back end of last year in order to fund another watch purchase. But I do want to do more reviews into micro brands. I'll have to pay for a lot of those out of my own pocket, so they may be fewer and further between, but I think micro brands have a lot to offer and a lot of original designs as well. It's not to say that I don't like AliExpress watches. I do like AliExpress watches. I do feel that they offer incredible value for money, but I'm starting to find that although I enjoy homage watches and there'll always be a place for homage watches on this channel, I do find my personal taste starting to shift somewhat towards original and interesting designs, whether that comes from a big brand, a micro brand, or an AliExpress brand as well. But I'd have to say out of the two at the minute, I am probably more impressed with what the micro brand market is doing. So the next question is, what is your day job? So I'm actually going to talk a little bit about everything that I do sort of in the daytime, because I'm a very busy boy. So I am a utilities, real estate and environmental consultant. I tend to work in 3 different fields, but actually they're all sort of interconnected. So I consult for an energy supplier, a software tech company, a real estate software company, and a couple of other smaller companies that I also consult with as well on a sort of monthly basis. And I sort of do that month to month, and I love doing it because of the flexibility that I have. I'm a big believer in science and in the environment as well, but I also have a I guess a vested interest when it comes to I guess not a vested interest, I'm not sure if that's the right word or not, but I have an interest when it comes to that kind of stuff because my dad's a scientist, he's a geologist, and so although my mind doesn't work in a scientific way, I'm more of a commercial head. That sort of industry has always been interesting to me, and I've continued to pursue that into adulthood. I'm also studying for a master's degree, a MBA, which I'm doing in my spare time at the minute, so in my evenings and weekends, and I'm studying for an MBA. I'm doing that at Wrexham Glendower University, which is a North Wales university, and yeah, hopefully I should graduate from that by the end of 2024. I think, yeah, the end of 2024. I don't think I'll be doing a PhD or a doctorate. Again, my brain doesn't quite work in that way. But you know what? Never say never. And the final question before I stop the video today, because I feel like this is going to be a bit longer. This was meant to be a short updates video, and as you know, continues to ramble. Last question is, what watch is on your wish list for this year? Great question. So I have a couple of watches on my wish list for this year. Not sure if I'll pick any of them up this year, but I do have a few that I am interested in. So first of all, I want to get a GMT watch this year, proper GMT watch. I don't know what I mean by proper. Maybe a true GMT, although I'm not so bothered by that actually. I just want to get a GMT watch that's an original design. So I've had my eye on a couple of Oris GMT watches, like the Pro Pilot and a couple of others. I've also been looking at the Longines Spirit, some of the Christopher Ward models as well, and even some of the Seiko Presage Sharp Edge models too. So there's a few different GMT watches that are on my wish list for this year. I also would like to get a automatic chronograph as well, and I have a couple specifically in mind. Again, not sure if I'll be able to get them this year or not, but I will see if any of them become available. But the main one on that list is probably the Hamilton Intramatic chronograph. Those are my so yeah, a GMT watch this year, and I'd love to get a chrono as well, the Hamilton Intramatic chronograph. So that's it. I think that's everything. In fact, there was one other question, which is, do you think you'll be putting your face on camera this year? And before I finish off, I'll do want to say that you know, appearing on camera has never been something that I've actively avoided. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's hard for me to appear on camera because of how small my office is, and so I can't get a nice professional looking setup. However, I wouldn't mind appearing on camera this year, and if I can get a presenting space where I can stand in front of the camera, then I'll do it. Anyway, guys, that was the last question, I absolutely swear. I just want to say a huge thank you to you all for your support in 2022. The comments, the likes, the subscriber count going up, it has really sort of pushed me forward and made me want to create more content for 2023. I have my goals. I have the goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I want to do giveaways. I want to do more things coming into 2023, and I'm really going to take active steps to be much more present on this platform moving forward. But guys, I want to take this opportunity not to say what do you think about the changes that are coming. I've already asked you that. You can leave that in the comments below, but I just want to say thank you for your support, and in 2023 I hope to see all of you in the comments section, and I want to be able to build a great community. So here it is, 2023. Let's go ahead and smash it as a community.